Good morning, beautiful people. How's everyone doing? Hope you all are thriving, not just surviving. Wow, do we have a lot to talk about today? So I didn't go live yesterday. I've had a lot of stuff going on personally. I've been still moving into my new place, and I've kind of been busy with a lot of other personal stuff in my life, so I wasn't able to be live yesterday. But I wanted to cover how big these No Kings protests were. So unfortunately, I was working over the weekend, meaning I was not able to attend any of them. Sad days. But there was a pretty big protest where I live. And all of that being said, I want to actually showcase all the protests all across the country. But then even further, I want to point out how widespread these protests were. Oh yeah, okay, they were in every state, sure. But the many like deep red states had sizable protests. And I think that's really, really important to point out, that it's not just these these bigger, bluer populated states. It's also these rural states. It's these MAGA country that's like, yeah, we're not going to take any more of this. So I'm going to be pointing all of that out here, and then also covering Donald Trump's most pathetic and childish response. I don't think it's not even really up for debate. Like, his response was just absolutely disgusting and childish. So I want to show everything here. Now, some of these pictures are going to be wild. Like, for instance, there were some people that got really crafty with their protest garb and gear. And so this is just a lot to look at. But we're going to be covering a lot of what the protests kind of look like, where were they at, and everything. So, hello, good morning, Kate, Akicha, Cantisa. Hello. How's everyone doing? So please make sure to like the stream, share the live. I love all of you so much, even if you don't like me or despise me for some odd reason. I work hard to try and bring this broadcast to you all. So let's just get into it. So on Saturday, unfortunately, I was not able to personally attend, but there were around 2,700 different protests across the country. That's a lot. Like 2,700. And this was in all 50 states. All 50 states had a protest, which is pretty awesome, not gonna lie. And there were some notable people that were speaking there, politicians, local elected leaders, and some celebrities even. But that all being said, there were so many people that ended up turning out, 7 million people across the US. And there were many people that were also not able to attend, but this is just a big show of resistance. Like, and not even resistance, it's more just defiance. And I like the word defiance better than resistance. The main reason is because resistance is just you saying no. Defiance is you saying no with a reason. And so I think this is a really big show of defiance from the public, saying, yeah, we don't want any kings. Donald Trump is a guy who then at one point said that he wasn't sure if he had to follow the Constitution. And he jokes about being a dictator. And he says, yeah, maybe we should have a dictator. Like, no matter how much you think, oh, he's just joking. He says that he's joking about a lot of stuff and then goes and does it. MAGA, when are you going to realize that it's so stupid? It's so stupid. So I appreciate every single one of you. Let's make sure to don't be rude or nasty in the chat here. But I'm going to be showing you lots of different pictures from all across the country, starting with bigger cities and then going into smaller rural areas. So let's get into it. As I said, there were more than 7 million people across the country that ended up protesting back on Saturday, October 18th, I believe it was. I was not able to personally engage because I was at work. But that all being said, I want to cover some pictures that you may or may not have seen from everything. So, of course, there were so many people that turned out in New York City. And I just want to point out that, of course, bigger blue states like New York or California or Massachusetts, Connecticut are going to have a lot of people that turn out for protests. Washington, D.C., etc. And that is a lot of people in America. I don't know if these MAGA people actually you probably don't really care or realize, but big blue states and big blue cities do carry a lot of the engine for the economy in this country. But also so do farmers in small towns, and also local manufacturing. And so it's important to point all of that out. So you can't just invalidate one whole half of America. And so there's a lot of people that, of course, protested in bigger places like New York. This is a picture from Detroit, Michigan. So, and I'm just going in order of the pictures that I took. So there's more in New York. And you know what's so funny is Donald Trump likes to claim that, oh, these are paid protesters. That's his claim. That's his claim, that they're somehow paid, highly organized protesters, a part of a network of Antifa with George Soros. That's what he's claiming. That's what our buffoon neck pussy in chief is saying, okay? I want you to look at these pictures and you look at them for yourself and ask, do these people look highly organized? Do they look uniform? Do they all have the same exact kind of sign? Like, if you are a very, very professional, organized group, you're going to have a lot of the same garb. You're going to have a lot of the physically same outfit, the same signs, the exact same stuff. You might be carrying a sign and then there might be someone else that has the exact same sign. Ask yourself, when you're looking at these photos, do you see any of that? Because when you actually look at all of this, these are just a whole bunch of people that have been crafty themselves and put together things like this. No healthcare for you peasants, but a ballroom for the queen. And so, of course, that's Donald Trump, kind of in a Marie Antoinette kind of style thing. And so Donald Trump's claim is that these are all Antifa. Hold on, I need my hands. Hold on. These are all Antifa. They're all Antifa. They are organized by George Soros and the wealthy liberal lunatics organized by them. When you look at it, there's so much diversity and uniqueness amongst all the different protest gear and everything that is there. So when you're looking at it, you don't have the same uniforms, you don't have the same exact signs. That kind of completely debunks your whole thing. That all being said, let's look at more. Make sure to send some likes, like the stream. Don't be a jerk in the chat, okay? Also, I just want to say, if you're one of these people that's screaming nonsense in the chat, guess what? I have it literally hidden away so that I don't see it. Because there's a lot of people probably calling me gay or trying to do trying to like put me down for my appearance, my voice, my whatever, and completely diverting from the topic at hand. You will be muted if you are being nasty, okay? Freedom of speech, yes, you do have, but it doesn't mean that you're free from the consequences. So if you're being nasty, you will be held accountable. If you're spreading misinformation or something that is not factually accurate, you will be held accountable. Sorry, that's how it works. Cool? Got it. So continuing on with some of these pictures here, that one was one of my favorites. But there were protests all across the country, even in North Georgia. And you can see protesters gather at a busy intersection in a small but strongly Trump-supporting county in North Georgia. So I'll be getting into all of these bigger blue cities as well as, smaller places. So, of course, New York City had some of the biggest turnout there. This is in Michigan. I don't know where Howell, Michigan is. I don't know if it's a bigger place or smaller. Trump is the worst president since, well, Trump, which is kind of funny. Of course, Chicago, Illinois. This person was dressed as a clown, says real clowns would run things better. That's funny. But you also saw a lot of protesters with very, very American gear. Because here's the thing. Protest is a fundamental American right that is done by anyone. Okay, so for these people on the right to try and claim that they are somehow the ones that have a monopoly on the idea of looking patriotic, sorry, you don't. You don't. Patriotism is for everybody that believes in the Constitution. Yet, Donald Trump claims that the first words that come to his mind about the Declaration of Independence are, unity and love and peace. It's like it was a declaration of severance from an oppressive king. This is all coming from the same guy who claims that he is not sure if he has to follow the Constitution and jokes about being a dictator. Or like, well, maybe America needs a dictator. Maybe we need one. Maybe it would go so much better if we had one, I wonder who that person could be. All of that being said, a lot of people showed up with a lot of very very, very patriotic looking gear. And I think that's awesome. I think that the idea that the right has about like, oh, we own the American flag. No, you don't own it. No. There were also a lot of people that did their own artistry. So this is kind of it's a lot to take in. Of course, you have the big inflatable potato looking hemorrhoid orange blob things, inflatables that people wear. I don't get it. But, you do you, boo. So you can see a lot of pictures, especially in New York City, Washington, D.C. We'll be getting to the smaller, American towns as well as in red states. I loved the people in the Squidward costumes, not gonna lie. Sorry for being weird. This is my first dictatorship. You're like, I actually asked myself this question. Since I wasn't able to participate, I didn't fully get an on-the-ground answer as to why people were wearing these inflatable costumes. And from what I was able to gather, the reason why people are wearing these axolotl, or these like frogs or Squidward or these inflatable weird Trump things is because they're saying, look, Trump is not a serious person. He is a clown. We are going to protest someone using this kind of style to drive home a point. And I think it's kind of effective. I think it's hilarious, honestly. But that all being said, going further, I think it's hilarious in that way. Of course, you had some people dressing up as Cookie Monster as well. So that's funny. I thought that was kind of cute. There's a guy in a banana over there. So, we're doing all right in the chat. I appreciate every single one of you. And by the way, if you're one of these people that is rage typing in the chat, just literally scroll on. Minding your own business is free. And if you're one of the people who regularly tune into this broadcast, if you want, feel free to take up space in the chat, because these people are so small of a group, yet they somehow protrude out this huge voice. We don't have to let them take up that space. Okay? So I appreciate all of you, even if you don't like me, because I'm a progressive. I believe in love, peace, and understanding. So this is also Washington, D.C. Obviously, you have people protesting with some very custom stuff. We the people, that's the preamble to the Constitution. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common events, promote general welfare, and ensure liberty and peace to all. We do ordain to the United States of America. It's pretty close to, that's pretty much the preamble. I have it kind of memorized ever since 8th grade. I did butcher it a little bit towards the end, but yeah. Can you cite the preamble? It was so funny. Miss Michaels, I remember my 8th grade history teacher required all of the students to memorize the preamble to the Constitution. I bet that she would be proud that I remember a good chunk of it today. So, continuing on, you even have people in West Palm Beach. I'm not a terrorist. I'm just a peaceful protester. And of course, the right is trying to classify anyone who are these peaceful protesters as somehow hating America. No. Protest is a fundamental American human right. So the idea that somehow these people are anti-American, no, you know what's anti-American? Is when Donald Trump decides to brutalize and try to hurt protesters. Or posts an AI video of him literally shitting on American protesters, on the American flag. That's anti-American. And it's creepy and gross as well. Just saying. It's anti-American for you to try and stifle the free speech of other people and their fundamental right to protest. That goes both ways. Now, if your protest turns into violence, then that's different. Are these people being violent? You think people with a frog costume are somehow violent or intimidating or dangerous? Go to your optometrist and get your eyes checked, because girl, that is far from the truth. Let's look at some other pictures here. Stop the Third Reich, obviously play on words there, in Chicago, Illinois. And these are just some of the pictures. Trust me, I have so many more to get to. Y'all, please make sure to like the stream if you're enjoying the live stream. I love all of you. And my moderators, I know probably today's a lot. Y'all are doing great. So, I also love these pictures of when, I don't know what the specific term for this is called, where they do like the above, they spell out things using their bodies. I think that's so cool. This was in Manistee, Michigan, which I don't even know where that is, other than I know it's in Michigan. But as you can see here, there was also a smaller protest in Rochester, New York, which is northern New York, close to the Canadian border and all that stuff. And it's so funny because in one small village near me in northern Michigan, population of over 1,000 people lined the main road. Okay, so this picture is from Rochester, but this is from in northern Michigan. There are more people here than Oktoberfest, said one neighbor. I asked, where did the 1,000 come from if the total population is 500? That's exactly what I thought. I asked a number of them where they were coming from, and it's clear that people were coming all over from northern Michigan and drove an hour or so to be here. One family even drove down from Canada. And that's also really, really cool, is when you see the solidarity of like things that just instantly pop up. It really shows how many people are upset about this current moment. And I know that these far right-wing people try to pretend that they're somehow bigger than they actually are, and that's part of their strategy. See, you all know, like, when a cat is threatened, it's because I'm a cat person. You all know when a cat is threatened, they make their body seem bigger than it actually is. That's what the far right does all the time. They are so much smaller than we realize. There's not as many of them as we realize, or there's not as many of them as you probably think. So they try to look bigger than they actually are. And platforms like social media only exacerbate that, because there are people in here where sometimes 9% of the chat is taken up, or 90% of the chat is taken up by only 9% of the people. And somehow social media, doesn't matter, can kind of distort your idea or your image or your perception about a space. So sometimes, especially when I would do TikTok live streams, you would see like 90% of the chat taken up by only 9 people. And that's because they were just scream rage typing about how gay I am, or how weird my voice is, or how my appearance in some way. Yeah. That all being said, social media can kind of give that warped perception. So that's what the right wing likes to do. Or they try to make themselves look bigger than they actually are. And whenever they see anything that might be bigger than them, they immediately get defensive, try to invalidate it. They do AI imagery in order to make the crowd size look bigger than it actually is. And so, all that being said, it's like, those are all these tricks. These are not honest actors that are constantly playing into this. These MAGA people, whether they realize it or not, and as someone who used to be one, they are not honest actors that actually believe in any sort of American values. They are far gone and brainwashed into a cult. And only with maybe some very, very good dialogue or some mutual understanding can you wake them up from it. But we just have to mobilize the people who are not political in order to actually maintain and take back the country to a little bit more version of sanity. Or not even just that, but like make us not go down the route to authoritarianism. So going forward here, I want to show you some more pictures. This is Salt Lake City, Utah, which of course Utah is a more red state. They have 2 Republican senators. There's Chestertown, Maryland. And it's really cool seeing, all these different places. There's Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Lancaster, Pennsylvania, I know that's in eastern Pennsylvania. I don't know if it's technically a suburb of Philadelphia, but Lancaster, I'm pretty sure it's not a suburb of Philadelphia, but it's sizable enough. But that's still a huge crowd. That's a huge crowd. There was this guy with his little poochie in Maine. That's cute. This is cool. This is Castine, Maine. Kevin DeBeck says we had 150 people from a town of 900. That's pretty sizable. And it's in Maine, and it's also getting close to like winter, so it's cold. Also, let me just pause here for a second. This is Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is the OG Antifa. For those people who might be screaming out your keister, oh my God, Antifa. Oh my God, you're Antifa. Oh my God, you're Antifa. There is no such registered organized group such as Antifa. There just isn't. There really isn't. Antifa specifically just means anti-fascist. Anti-fascist. That's what Antifa stands for. So anti-fascist means that you are against fascism. Fascism is when you have someone like Donald Trump going through instilling fear in people, going after political opponents. That's what fascism is. Fascism is what Hitler did. It's what the Holocaust was. It's what Mussolini does. It is what what's his face over in Russia, Vladimir Putin. That's the kind of person he is. So when you it's so funny, the people who fought against the Nazis, they were Antifa. That's why this person says OG Antifa. So for the far right people, they either ignore it, don't understand it. To be Antifa means to be American. Pure and simple. Antifa is basically a synonym for American. We fight fascism. Antifa means that you are against a king, against an authoritarian, against a one-party ruler, against someone who decides to take power from themselves, mock their political enemies. I don't know if the right wing fully realizes how anti-American their actions have become under Trump. I don't think that they actually realize it. Of course, you and me, regardless of your political affiliation, you and me, to the people who are in here being like, yeah, this is Trump is an idiot. He's an authoritarian. We see it clear as day. But I know people personally still a part of that. They don't understand. They don't see the hypocrisy in their actions. They don't see how their actions are some of the most anti-American things to do. They're supporting a man who put out an AI video of him literally shitting on protesters carrying the American flag. At that point, if you're not going to be able to convince anyone who is a part of a cult in that way, then they might be too far gone to ever be recovered. But that's why we need to treat this as an emergency, and we need to get out there and fight as much as possible. For all these people that were like, oh yeah, my grandfather fought in World War II. My grandfather fought in World War II. He did. It was a long time ago. I think one of my grandfathers, I think maybe it was both of them. I have to ask my parents. But one of them was stationed over in Hawaii. That all being said, Antifa specifically just means anti-fascist. That's all it means. Antifa means anti-fascist. Antifa is a pseudonym for America. It means that you're fighting you're fighting a ruler. You're fighting a king. You're fighting the idea of one unitary power. Without the constraints of Congress or the Supreme Court, which seem to be eroding more and more by the day, Donald Trump would just declare himself to be the unilateral dictator of this country. Don't tell, like, if you're a MAGA person, don't tell me that you wouldn't actually be surprised by that. Don't tell me that you would be surprised if Donald Trump were to try and erase democracy altogether. Anyway, I see a super chat in here. I am Antifa. Oh, hello, Sevar. Hello. Sevar's a good friend of the live stream, so y'all are awesome. So, anyway, someone said kings won't let you protest. Okay, I'll make a deal with you. When Donald Trump sics the military on people to try and stifle protests, do you think do you think that's being a dictator? Do you think that's being a king? Reported you for promoting terrorism. Sweetheart, you sent $2 in order for me to read out that comment. Who's really in need of an adjustment here? I'm supporting Americans' right to protest, and you think I'm a terrorist. Oh, bless your little heart. Oh my God. Bless your little heart. I'm literally saying, oh look, the OG Antifa, our country, fought against the Holocaust, fought against Germany in World War II. They're the ones fighting for pro-democracy ideas, and then you're like, you're a terrorist. Sweetheart, do you have any self-awareness whatsoever? Do you not realize that you are on the side of the group that is promoting terrorism? You are on the side trying to erode the idea of democracy. If the founders were alive today, they would be shaking your head. And it doesn't matter how much you go to your Fox News in order to get your daily dose of propaganda to then completely reverse all of the ideas and morals of it. It's just, oh my God. There's no waking some people up from the cult, y'all. There's none. They're too far gone. They're too far gone. But just simply putting all of that out there, look, the OG Antifa, people who fought in World War II against the Nazis, like, that's what America is. They fight for freedom. They fight for your right to protest. Like, America defends the right to protest regardless of what you're protesting about. So even if you're protesting the idea of, I don't know, you're protesting my right to marry, okay, you have the American right to protest that. You do. You do. I mean, it would be kind of stupid for you to make your whole protest about trying to dehumanize other people, but you fundamentally have the right to do that if you so choose. As long as you're not violent with it. Which these No Kings protesters were not violent whatsoever. But see, me saying that and showing evidence of that, when you're in a cult, it doesn't matter how much evidence you have to show someone, they're never going to listen. So my whole live isn't trying to get those people to realize. It's more about all of us, not brainwashed people, to then take action. So, wanting to point that all out here, but to quickly address, someone said, oh, well, you know, if Trump were a king, he wouldn't allow you to protest. Says Trump, who's invoking the Insurrection Act to go into cities and arrest people without due process and using the National Guard and military against our own citizens in order to stifle protests and to scare people into submission. So you're saying, oh, a king wouldn't do, what is it? Oh, Trump's not a king because, you know, he's not stifling your right to protest. Except he is. Except he is. He's using the National Guard and the military against the people in this country, people, American citizens in this country, to try and scare them into submission. If that's not a dictator, then sweetheart, go to your eye doctor and get them eyes checked. Look, put the shoe on the other foot. If this was Biden, imagine if Biden were to have, or Obama were to have put out an AI video literally shitting on the Tea Party protesters. The Tea Party protesters, which from my understanding back in like 2009 they were pretty much like not violent or anything like that. They were just protesting. Imagine if Obama were to have done that. You know what Fox News would be doing for 2 months? They would be running endless coverage about how this doesn't fit the character of the office of the United States, blah, 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 blah. And look, they'd be right. See, this is the thing. The right wing is not committed. These MAGA people are not committed to fighting for, they're not committed to playing a fair game. They're not committed to having a country that is for everyone. They just aren't. They aren't. They don't have that value set. It's a heads I win, tails you lose scenario with those people. So, to quickly summarize that, someone said, oh, well, if Trump was a king, then he wouldn't allow you to protest. He's using the National Guard and the military and trying to use the Insurrection Act to send the National Guard and military into American cities to then brutalize protesters, deport people without due process, kidnap people off the street wearing masks and not having any official government actions whatsoever, using ICE and thugs in order to do it. And then he posts an AI video of him literally crapping on protesters carrying an American flag. So you're like, oh, well, Trump wouldn't do that because, you know, he's not a king because he can't do that. Except he is. He's going through and doing it now. But see, you're not going to care until it personally affects you. Until somehow you are the next target of it. So, anyway. Also, here's some more pictures of protests. This is in Eugene, Oregon. It's funny because this says Phyllis Reasoner, that's a fun last name. 40 people, 2 dogs. We couldn't join the thousands who marched in downtown Eugene, but we can still protest. We chose to protest near our senior living apartments. Oh, all these old people out there be like, we want to be involved. That's so cute. Brown skin is not probable cause. That's very, very true. I don't know what Chinga La Migra means. I think La Migra means immigration, but I don't know what Chinga means. So, and also, oh, this picture is near and dear to my heart. So I went to Appalachian State. I'm from North Carolina, okay? I am born and raised in North Carolina, and I went to Appalachian State. Appalachian State is one of the biggest universities in North Carolina, and it's in a smaller town called Boone, North Carolina. And Boone, North Carolina has, it's basically a smaller town of, I think, they like to say it's 20,000 students, 20,000 residents. It's kind of been that way for a little bit. And so it is a little bit of a smaller hamlet, kind of in that whole area. And it is just near and dear to my heart that, you know, you saw these kinds of protests there. Orange Lives Matter. This person says, free balls for members of Congress who lost theirs. Oh, that's funny. But yeah. It's pretty cool to see that the smaller town of Boone, North Carolina actually has made a sizable dent in the map, because the county, Watauga County, has gone blue a couple times in elections, which is pretty cool for rural North Carolina, Western North Carolina. So, yeah, that photo is near and dear to my heart. You can see Apache Junction. You know what's so funny? Is you have these protests, and then you have these counter protesters that then rev their big trucks, and I've seen it where they've sprayed, or what is it? They release their exhaust on people and poison them and all of that. Or I heard some cases of this one guy out in Oregon that was trying to throw deer urine on protesters, and it's look. This person says, our side says we love you, we will vote for your freedom too. And that's the thing. There's a huge difference between people on the left and right when it comes to protests. Look, I might not like you. You might try to take away my right to marry, or my trans friends' rights to healthcare access. You might try to take away a woman's right to choose. But do I want to take away your healthcare access? No. Because I'm not an asshole. I'm not a jerk. I don't want to take away your access to healthcare. I don't want to tax you more. I want to make the rich pay their fair share. I want to make them pay more. I am, like, it's so funny. Democrats don't put forward any sort of policy to then do, like, political discrimination for anyone seeking medical care. You know why? Because that would be so stupid. That would be inconsiderate. That would be going against the idea of equity, equality, inclusivity, all of that. You know, it's so funny because Democrats, we are like, we want equality, equity, inclusivity for everyone. We want to make sure that everyone has the rights to health care. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent. And then you have Republicans, these MAGA people that make their whole hallmark literally trying to dehumanize another group. They're the ones that try to take away people's, like, gay people's rights to marry. They're the ones trying to take away trans people's rights to health care. They're the ones trying to take away the physical rights to a woman's body. It is like, but yet we as liberals, Democrats, whatever you want to call us, cool people, we never want to then take away your rights. Why? Because that would be a stupid and just awful thing to do. So, you know, like, when someone does that kind of thing where they might try to harass others or throw deer urine on protesters or whatever, our side is going to continue to say, look, we'll fight for you. We'll fight for your equality. We'll fight for your right to health care. We'll fight for your right to form a union. We'll fight for your right not to be nickel and dime by your corporation that you work for. Like, that's the fundamental difference. Fundamental difference is a lot of these farther right people are always about, what about me, 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 me? And a lot of people that are Democratic are saying, what about we? It's one of the biggest fundamental things. You don't see Democrats trying to take away, you know, rural hospitals from red parts of states. No, that's actually Republicans doing that. And then they try to they actually get their own constituents to go along with it because at least they're owning the trans libs. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Here you can see some more pictures. Again, there's New York. There was actually even one in Paris, France, which is kind of cool. This is Anchorage, Alaska. I didn't even know that they had buildings that tall in Alaska. But Alaska had some pretty sizable protests from my understanding, which is pretty cool. And yeah, there's some skyscrapers in Alaska. Who knew? Who knew? And you can see there's more in Portland, Oregon. I like this one. Why don't you work this hard for, you know, against school shootings, against human trafficking, to cure homelessness, global warming, climate change, people's lack of housing, missing children, battling inflation, better healthcare, human rights, tackling poverty, clean water, ending hunger? It's a good question. It's a genuinely good question. There's Seattle, Washington. Obviously, a lot of people there. Excuse me. I liked this one. I think this is one of those I don't know what they're called. I think they're called anglerfish, where they have the little light at the end. They're like at the bottom of like deep ravines in the ocean. Yeah, be the light you wish to see in the world. Obviously a play on words from Gandhi's quote, be the change you want to see in the world. And so I thought that was kind of cute. There's more in Canada. That's cool. There is... I guess there were some people in West Virginia also that were protesting. I saw this picture and I'm like, oh, someone dressed up as the Statue of Liberty. There were a lot of people who dressed up as the Statue of Liberty, actually. Miss Liberty, yes, we do. Trump, very bad, not recommended. Obviously, this is in Alaska. And I'm going to be showing you some other places that are like rural areas as well. There's Sheboygan, Michigan. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Very, very fair. There's Bend, Oregon. So there was also a lot in Oregon, too. There's Vermont, Montpelier. I don't know how they say it there. This was California. Aunt Tifa says no kings. That's kind of cute. This is Colorado. And also this, Gwen Jordan says over 700 people turned out for the No Kings protest in Evergreen, Colorado. Yes, the Evergreen who suffered a school shooting last month. So obviously people are upset. This is Gatlin, Tennessee. So I'm going to be shifting a little bit from here onwards, showing smaller places in red states that had sizable turnouts. So Tennessee, a place that has 2 Republican senators, Marsha Blackburn and Bill Hagerty, has of course Republican leadership, you know, governor-wise. That's Bill Lee and, oh God, what's the lieutenant governor's name? He's the weird guy that was caught liking a Twink's porn stuff on Twitter. Geez, I forget. Martin McNally? No. Something McNally. Anyway. But, so it's cool to see these red states have sizable protests. And I think those are the people who I think deserve the most credit. So here you have Columbia, South Carolina. You have a lot of people gathering around there. And there's Palm Springs, Florida. Holding a sign is not rioting or terrorism. Yeah, you can't convince MAGA people in the chat of that. They need to go get their eyes checked. We the People, obviously, this is in Hartford, Connecticut, so not a red state, but still I wanted to show it. Police shoot pepper balls and throw chemical canisters into a small group of protesters in Denver. So that's fun. And y'all, please make sure to send some likes. I love all of you. There's a Keosha Falls. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And that's in Ohio. So Ohio is more of a red state. So it's cool to see all these people gathering in red states. Let's see. This is more Seattle, Washington. I believe that's the Seattle Space Needle, if I'm not mistaken. There's Richmond, Virginia. I could have gotten more pictures from there, but I focused on some other places. This is Fort Myers, Florida. And I might be posting a collage of all these pictures at some point, because I think it's important to show what it was like. Of course, there were a lot of there were demonstrations in Boston. This is Macon, Georgia. So Georgia is pretty much a swing state, and, you know, Macon is not like a big place, but it's sizable enough. Yeah, carries the flag past the crowd gathered on College Street in Macon, Georgia. This is the flag that we fought the Kings. This is the original 13 stars and 13 stripes. You know what's so funny is our country fought a war to declare independence from England, from a king. Do not think for a second that Donald Trump would not love the idea of just being a king. He jokes about being a dictator. At one point said, maybe America needs a dictator. Maybe things would go better under that. Donald Trump exhibits all of the signs of wanting to be an authoritarian and actions of being an authoritarian. Why do we believe a convicted felon and known liar? Why do people choose to believe? Like, don't look at people's words. Think of their actions. That's what you should trust. Look at their actions. And so Donald Trump's actions show that he is a prolific liar. And there are people that give him the excessive amounts of benefit of the doubt because they don't have the courage to think critically for themselves. They would rather be a part of a group. They would rather, oh, well, that's just, my family's just always been Republican, so I'm going to be Republican from now on. I don't personally like the man, but I decided to go with him because I think he's good for our economy. I'm Southern. I can do that accent. I know so many people like that. Let me get 2 more pictures here. Oh, that's the one I just showed. This is in Texas. I thought this was cool. I don't know what she's supposed to be dressed as, but... you know, you do you, girl. There's Austin, Texas. So Texas, obviously more of a red state. Might be flipping blue. That'd be kind of cool. You can see more pictures. I think this is the cover photo I used. Y'all make sure to send some likes if you're enjoying the live stream. You can see obviously in downtown Miami. So there's more. Now, I want to also cover some stuff happening in North Carolina. So North Carolina is my home state. And so I really wanted to cover specifically this. Unfortunately, I was not able to go because I was working. But there were some really awesome protests in North Carolina. So there were some big protests in Raleigh, which for those people who do not know is the capital of North Carolina. No, it is not Charlotte. But there were some sizable groups in Raleigh, North Carolina, for 3 hours along Capitol Boulevard, which is northeast Raleigh. I've driven on Capitol Boulevard before. It is kind of a nightmare. For those people who do not know, Raleigh does suffer from some significant traffic, which is fun, you know. That's you would think, oh yeah, that's just a smaller place. Raleigh's not a small place. But you know, for 3 hours along Capitol Boulevard, nonstop honking. And I wanted to show you some other pictures from it as well. There we go. And this one's funny. This person signs this. You know it's bad when a Reagan Republican is protesting. So that's just funny to see. The rally was awash with colorful characters, among them the Cookie Monster, which a pink axolotl, dinosaurs and dragons, all of that, and giant yellow chickens. That's funny. That's the one I just showed here. Hold on. And you know what is so funny is North Carolina Republicans were like, oh my God, these are far left protesters. These manufactured events do nothing but highlight how out of touch they are with the American people. Sorry, I think that the people protesting fascism are much more in touch with the American people than folks that are trying to warp people's perception of a crowd of people with their own handmade signs protesting a guy who says he's not sure if he has to follow the Constitution and saying, yeah, we don't want any kings. You know what's so funny? It sounds like Republicans, it sounds like y'all want kings. Like, do y'all want Donald Trump to be your king? See, the thing that these protesters are protesting is they're saying, no kings, no kings, no kings. Why does the right take it so personally? Why? Why do you get defensive about that statement? Wouldn't you say, yeah, no kings, we don't want any kings in America? But then, no, you decide to get immediately defensive. Why? Because Donald Trump is acting like a king, and you know that deep down. But instead of actually instead of actually changing, you double down and double down and double down and double down because you are afraid to change. You are afraid of something you do not know. I'm saying that as someone who was raised as a very strong Christian Republican. Yes, me. I was raised that way. It wasn't until I was able to go off on my own that I was like, oh, that's not actually what I truly believe. I was victim of misinformation, all of that stuff. And I'm like, okay, I want to make sure I give people the facts and then they can come to their own conclusions. So anyway, I love seeing this in my home state. I love seeing all these people coming out and protesting. Let's see. They need to know when it's appropriate to stand up and fight, and sometimes standing and fighting is standing in a silly costume on the side of the road with a sign screaming at the top of your lungs. Which, you know, that's funny because Donald Trump is a small man. We have to laugh at him in order for him to then, him to maybe feel shame. So, obviously, these are pictures from North Carolina rallies. You can see this is... this one's in Raleigh, no kings in America. You can see among the costume characters, protest in Raleigh. You can see the Cookie Monster. I'll show you a blown up picture here. This is in Clayton, which is a little bit outside of Raleigh area. Let's see. This one was in Raleigh. Let me show you some closer up pictures. So I believe this is on Capitol Boulevard, or as I like to call it, Crapitol Boulevard. Because Capitol Boulevard can get kind of congested. But, yeah. And this is near Triangle Town Center, which I believe is a mall in Raleigh area. So, obviously, there's the Cookie Monster there. This guy brought his furry friends to the protests, which I think is kind of cute, you know? Lifting up the spirits of people. So, even in more red states like North Carolina, there was a sizable turnout. And here is more. You can see more in, let's see, that's Raleigh, oh, that's Portland. Frogs were a popular motif at the No Kings protest in Raleigh, referencing a viral video of protesters in Portland. Okay, never mind. So this is in Raleigh too. Yeah, so these are all the Raleigh area. This person at one point said, I was thinking about going with another costume, but I thought a skeleton would be more apt because in this economy, yeah, it's going to be a skeleton. And I'm like, ooh. Yeah, there's the frogs. There's one of the frogs, which is kind of funny. I thought this was a good sign. Terrible things are happening outside. Poor, helpless people are being dragged out of their homes. Families are torn apart. Children come home from school to find that their parents have been deported. That's just so sad. It really is sad. So there's more pictures all over. Also, for those people who do not know, it is the Raleigh, but also Durham is another sizable place within that area. They call it Raleigh-Durham, or the RDU area. For people that are outside of it, they usually call it Raleigh-Durham. But for people that live in Raleigh, they usually just say Raleigh. Anyway, that all being said, Durham also drew a significant crowd as well. You can see here in Durham, Barber, that's the last name of someone, who's a theologian, professor, and co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, and member of the NAACP board of directors, emphasized the importance of unity and undue influence of billionaires on federal government. So obviously, saying, hey, we don't need any more kings, we don't need billionaires, we don't need them to buy off elections and stuff like that. And so, also Durham is a very, very geographically much more a place with much more black folk. So Durham is a little bit more has a higher rate of non-white people compared to Raleigh. Also Asheville, you can see Asheville had pretty sizable protests as well. There were protests in the Triad, which those people do not know, they call Winston-Salem and Greensboro and High Point, the three that are kind of, they kind of form a triad. So it's funny because they call also Raleigh-Durham the Triangle, because it's for Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. They call it the Triangle. And there's an infamous place in Raleigh that does biotech. So people might not know this if you're not from North Carolina, but the Research Triangle Park is a really, really big thing. So if you work in pharmaceuticals or biology, tech, software, there's a lot of jobs for that in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so that's in Research Triangle Park, so they call that the Triangle. And then there's the Triad cities. So you see some protests there. There are a lot of also protests, even places like Mount Airy, where I believe the Andy Griffith Show was actually originally based out of. But yeah, there were protests all over North Carolina. Also, our southern neighbor, there were lots of protests in South Carolina as well. Y'all make sure to like the stream, share the live. We're going to end strong with all of this. I appreciate every single one of you. And no, I've not really been looking at the chat here. I appreciate every single one of you all. If I've missed super chats or positive chats, then I apologize in advance. It means a lot that you all are here, even if you don't like me, okay? I'm never going to vote to take away your human rights or your health care, so I hope that you would never want to do the same for me or anyone else. That's also a huge thing. It's like, a lot of Democrats or progressives fight for the rights of everyone. Republicans fight for the rights of specifically only people like them. Prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. You can see these No Kings protests all across South Carolina as well. So this is in North Charleston. For those people who just need a refresher, there's Charleston, South Carolina, and Charleston, West Virginia. I'm talking about the one in South Carolina. Let's see, where was I? Also, thousands gather march during No Kings rally outside of the South Carolina State House. So, for those people who do not know, the capital of South Carolina is Columbia, not Charleston. But you had big protests in Columbia, Charleston, as well as Greenville and Spartanburg, which are in western South Carolina. And so you had lots of pictures from there. I was very, very proud of our southern neighbor here with South Carolina, of how big their turnout actually was. I think that's kind of an underrated story from the No Kings protest. South Carolina had some pretty sizable protests. And this is South Carolina, the first state to secede from the Union. This is South Carolina, a very, very solidly red state. So seeing all these people turning out was really, really, it like, look at this. This is South Carolina. This is South Carolina, y'all. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And this is South Carolina. I thought only like 12 people lived there. No, I'm just joking. I can say that. I'm from North Carolina. Don't hate me. So you can see here all these people rallying outside. You have North Charleston. You have Columbia, where the capital is. Then you also have places like Greenville and Spartanburg, which are in western South Carolina. They're along that highway that go down from Charlotte to Atlanta. So these are pictures from these rallies. And to me, you know, I think it's important to showcase the big protests that happen in New York or Boston or California or DC. It's good to showcase those, but it's also good to showcase these smaller places that had huge acts of resistance, huge acts of defiance. A man wore an American flag themed clothing Saturday, and this is in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Law over loyalty, you can see. And it's just cool to see. Greenville and Spartanburg aren't like super big places, so it's really, really inspiring to see people in red areas also taking to the streets. Because it's one thing to protest in a safer blue area, but it's another thing to protest in a red rural area, you know? So it was very inspiring to see this kind of thing. So there's endless pictures I have of South Carolina. Also, Arkansas. Y'all, make sure to send some likes. Let's finish the stream strong. I appreciate every single one of you. Also, really quick question. If you participated in a No Kings protest, just type yes in the chat below. Just type yes. You don't have to reveal where you were. I was working, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to participate. But if you participated in No Kings protest, then just type yes in the chat. I appreciate all of you. You know, there were also big turnouts in places that are red states, like Arkansas. This is in Little Rock, so it's a bigger, city there. But what is it? Wilkes said it's important for Arkansans to challenge the stereotypes that Southern Republican-led states are overwhelmingly bigoted against marginalized communities. We believe in democracy. We believe in free speech. It's important to dispel those negative stereotypes, and that's also very important. And I'll say this. I'll say this from my own personal view. It's so funny because I've met LGBTQ people that live in northern cities. I've met people that live in New York or Boston or, all these, or like even in Florida, and these people are like, oh my God, I would never go to North Carolina, or I would never go there because it's like your gay scene's not going to be good. And then our gay scene in North Carolina is pretty decent for a southern state. And they're like, oh, it's so funny because I want to point out some of the most defiant, strong, queer gay people I know are from these more rural Republican-led states. You know why? Because we have had to be tough as nails in order to be here, in order to show defiance. I'm not trying to say that we are, better or somehow, than anyone else, but I'm saying that like queer people from Republican states, we got grit. We got absolutely like a whole bunch of grit. We have fight. Our skin is so thick, it's like a wallet. Because we're the ones that have to exist amongst all of it. So that all being said, I think it's important for us to also dispel the notion that, states like South Carolina or North Carolina or Arkansas or Alabama or Mississippi or these places that are deep red Trump country, that their whole population is somehow, you know, oh, you know, they're all MAGA. No, that's not true. There's also a lot of queer and gay people and good-hearted people that live in these states that are fighting and being resistant, and not just being resistant, being defiant against this kind of crap. So it's important to point all of that out, because that's near and dear to me personally, because I'm one of those people in North Carolina. So anyway, I like this one, fight ignorance, not immigrants. That's also so true. I mean, there are so many people in this country that have an immigration story. One half of my family were American colonizers. They fought in the Revolutionary War against a king, against the King of England. The other half were immigrants going through Ellis Island. So, not like every single person, unless you have Native American ancestry, we are all immigrants. Whether you were brought over here where your original family were maybe enslaved, or you are just colonizers or immigrants. All people in this country, unless you have Native American heritage, are not native to this land by your ancestry. I'm native to this land because I was born here, but like, when you think about it, all people in America, unless you have Native American ancestry, are immigrants. So the idea that somehow we're supposed to demonize people from wanting to be a part of our country now, after we've gotten in, it's like, really? Really? Why don't you extend the same kind of love, care, and empathy that other people showed to your family in the past? But no, it's all about me, 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 me. I'm in the party. I don't want anyone else in there. Anyway. You can see there's there were bigger protests in Arkansas as well, which is really cool to see. In honor of my 3 Antifa uncles that obviously fought in World War II. You can see there. This is Arkansas, y'all. This right here is Arkansas. Just take that in for a second. Arkansas, a super red state. So it's important to showcase that there are places, not just New York or not just California, that are fighting back. Oklahoma. I just was like, what about Oklahoma? Over 1,000 gather in Oklahoma City as part of nationwide No Kings protests. Oklahoma seemed to have a lot of different organized protests all over as well. Rosa Valdez, she's said she's never been involved in politics, but seeing immigrants removed from their homes without due process has brought her to the protest. There's a lot of people that have been around me in my lifetime that have fallen victim to what is going on right now. Just thinking about that just makes my heart just yearn and hurt for them. This guy, I loved this. I loved this so much. This guy dressed up as a Ghostbuster. Ghostbusters! And, you know, he said the outfit was meant to be silly because tyrants have to be laughed at, or tyrants hate to be laughed at. And I thought that was really, really important. So I just love the Ghostbusters outfit. I thought that was so clever. Organizers of the protest held a mock trial for Trump in Oklahoma, actually, alleging crimes such as using the military against civilians, obstructing justice, corruption, and bribery. Speakers acted as prosecutors and witnesses in the trial, with the crowd of prosecutors acting as the jury, and found Trump guilty, which I thought was just great. And obviously these are pictures from Oklahoma. You can see that there were protests planned in at least 18 other Oklahoma cities. That's a lot. So there was a lot of protests planned in Oklahoma. And just showing you more pictures from, like, this is deep red Oklahoma. They're like, yeah, no, we're not going to just take this. IKEA has better cabinets. Elvis is king, not Trump. Yeah. So you can see here, this is the Antifa starter kit. It has the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States of America, and the Bill of Rights. Yeah, that is very much the Antifa starter kit, for those people who do not know. Also, Alabama. Hundreds gather for No King protests in Alabama. You know, Alabamians rally against Trump administration. You can see here, the Huntsville No Kings demonstration. This is Alabama, y'all. This right here. This is Alabama. Look how many people. are showing up in Alabama for No Kings. And this was I don't know which city this was. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. This is Birmingham. Yeah, No Kings protest draws large crowd in Birmingham. There was also people in Auburn and Opelika. There was some in Montgomery. There's a lot of people. And this is Alabama, deep red Alabama. All the frogs. I thought that was kind of clever and cute. Mississippi as well. There were people that were all over Mississippi, fighting for democracy, due process, constitutional rights, the real American dream. This is Mississippi here, y'all. That right there. That's No Kings in Mississippi. Right there. This is Mississippi for No Kings. I mean, and in the meantime, this is where I'm closing out the live stream here. In the meantime, all these people are protesting a king. What does Trump do? What does Neck Pussy in Chief do? He posts a bizarre, a crazy, a wild AI video. I actually saw this and I was stunned. It's hard to make me speechless, but like, I was just stunned. He posted this bizarre AI video in which he literally craps over the protesters. Now put aside whether you like or dislike what the protesters are supporting. Think about the notion of just a president releasing an AI video crapping on people. See, this is the thing. This is the very, very stark difference between these MAGA folk and people who are not. This is just something you don't do, especially as an American president. An American president is sending the military, sending the National Guard against its own citizens. To all the Trump chest hump uppers that are like, you are literally so anti-American. Period. End of story. You don't believe in people's rights to protest if they disagree with you. That is anti-American. 100%. And I don't know how else to get through to you that it's humiliating for you. And it's exhausting for people that live in this country to have to share with someone who doesn't share the same values. We as Americans are supposed to share the same values of wanting equality, equity, freedom of speech for everyone. But a lot of people that are saying, yeah, we don't want a tyrant, we don't want a king, and you think that it's somehow clever to do some sort of stupid AI video of a president literally shitting on protesters. It's pathetic. For a second, just for a second, put the shoe on the other foot. Just for a second, put the shoe on the other foot. Ask yourself, if Biden or Obama were to have done this for people who were MAGA and they protested him. MAGA protests that, let's say in this hypothetical example, were peaceful. MAGA would literally shit a brick. They would be right to do so. They would be like, excuse me, that's crazy. See, this is the thing. This is the difference. And it doesn't matter if I even bring up that hypothetical. You know why? Because they're going to be like, well, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. This is why there are people that still think that Gavin Newsom is adopting Trump's style. No, he's mocking Trump. You idiots. So, for people, and this is another thing. For folks that are like, oh, this is so effective, or oh, this is amazing. So you just like being immature? You just literally like fostering childish behavior? I thought that we were more mature than this. I thought that we were better than this as a country. This is why aliens are not interested in our planet. Because Americans, under Trump, America is a fucking insane country. We are a clown country under this man. He posted an AI video of him shitting on other people. See, this is the thing. Many of these MAGA people, you're never going to realize. I don't think you're ever going to realize. If Democrats started acting like this, you would literally lose your mind. You would literally lose your mind. And I've always been this person that's like, you know, I don't want to actually stoop to that level. But maybe to wake up some of those people, you have to. I'm not advocating for that, though. It's just crazy to me to see people that look at this and somehow think it's okay. Here's the thing. If Bernie, if Biden, if Obama, if Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, I don't know, if anyone were to do this, I'd be like, that's disgusting. Because I don't care. This is the thing. I don't think many people realize this is the thing. I don't care that it's Trump doing this. It's the idea itself. A lot of these far right-wing people think that we are somehow so against it because, oh, we don't like it because Trump does it. No, we don't like it because it's wrong, because it's illegal, because it violates the Constitution. It's not because it's Trump doing it. It's because it's the physical act itself. If anyone were to literally post an AI video of them shitting on American protesters carrying American flags, I'd be like, yeah, that's gross. Yeah, that's immature. It doesn't matter that it's Trump doing it. It's the physical act itself of doing that. It is the message, that just existing message. So, all these right-wing people, y'all are so far up Donald Trump's ass to the point where you can't see that we are against what he's doing. It's not because it's him. It's because what he's doing. I would hope that you are against what he's doing as well. And if you are not against what he's doing, then, okay, you believe in completely wiping off the whole idea of American democracy. You do. You believe in eroding the whole idea of the rule of law, the Constitution, our rights. You know these people, it's so funny. These people, they should start carrying the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, because that would be also an apt message. You know what Donald Trump is doing right now with doing this? Sending in the National Guard, sending in the military against American citizens? That's treading! That's treading! It's disgusting. It's fully disgusting. And you know what's so funny is, like, this person eloquently put in my thoughts. Crapping on America isn't the flex that Trump thinks that it is. Right. It's really not. At least he admits he's shitting all over America. Very true. In response to all of this, the fact that Trump put out this shows that he is more obsessed with doing this kind of stupid stuff than he is actually leading the country, doing anything to physically help people's lives. And I just hope that enough Americans see this and are, like, disgusted by it that they do something about it. It's just insane to me. Anyway. You just have to laugh in his face. He's a fucking idiot. Anyway, I appreciate every single one of you. I need to get going. I have to get going. I don't have work today, thank God, because I'm off. But I appreciate every single one of you, even if you don't like me. I hope that my message at least was helpful for some folks with talking about this. The No Kings protests were bigger than you might actually realize, and so I love every single one of you. Your reaction is exactly why he does it. What reaction am I supposed to give? I don't think that Donald Trump actually is even looking at my reaction. So, oh, thank you, Eddie. I appreciate that. I work hard to do this and compile all of this. You know, I'm trying to do what I can in this moment to push back against this crazy thing. I hope that when you look at yourself in the future, 20 years from now, if we still have a habitable planet. We still have a livable country. I hope that you look back and are proud of what you did in this moment to then fix the craziness going on. And yeah, shout out to all my amazing moderators in here. Kate, Kantisa, Ellie, Akicha, I love all of you. Cherie, Joanna Tech. I cannot do any of this without you all. I really, really couldn't. Like, I seriously love you all so, so much. Jenny, y'all are all awesome. Elisa. Anyway. Oh, I'm proud of you too. Thank you, Awin. You're awesome. Anyway, I need to get going. I am going to be trying to post more content, so I appreciate all of you. Just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever, 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 ever dim your shine. I love all of you so, so much. Bye!